So tonight it's back to trying to get this torque tube out. I came out and I had another look at it, and I was pretty sure it had moved fractionally. You could tell looking through the rivet holes, you could actually see the split line between the two tubes, which you couldn't really see before when I first popped the rivets out. And there was actually about a 2 thou gap just in here. What I'd done before is I'd used a scriber to actually scribe a line on there because I wanted to see if it had moved at all. And I noticed it had moved fractionally. My friend Ian rang me today, and he said one thing he's seen on Austins before is even though tubes like this are riveted, there could also be plug welds through that could be holding it. And it was worth checking for that. So I had a really good look over it. The only place that looked like there could be a weld is, it's a bit hard to see in the light, this sort of little lump here, but that's actually, when I cleaned it all up, turned out to be a stamp. I'm not sure exactly what it says, AM or something like that. But I had a look on the inside of the tube and I couldn't see any places where it looked like it had been welded. So I thought I'll keep bashing at it, literally. I've been using my hot air gun this time to heat it up, mainly because I'm getting low on acetylene. And I've been heating it up, bashing it with my steel bar down inside there, and it is actually moving. It's probably moved, oh, I can't even tell, half a millimeter, maybe a millimeter. But it is definitely moving, so it's not welded. If you look down in the rivet holes, again, it's hard to see because of the light. Oh, there we go. You can see the little step in there, so it is actually moving now. So I think I basically just have to keep heating it up and then hammering away at it, and eventually that's going to come out. But it looks like that end is actually machined down slightly to get it to be a push fit in there. So definitely I will have to take it to my engineering chap to be able to turn that down for me, because I can't do that here. The other thing I did is pulled the press apart just to see what had happened here, and it's the actual bar that's bent. So this whole thing is bent over. It was never actually that straight, so I think what I'll do is I'll try and straighten it up. I'm very tempted to somehow, with the angle grinder I guess, cut this out, flatten that off, and weld a new, more solid piece of steel in there. Although probably it's a good idea to have something in there that is a little bit flexible so something gives rather than the whole thing exploding if I put too much force on it. I don't know actually what happens if you try to put too much force on one of those machines. With the little bottle jack there, it always kind of scares me in case something's going to go bang and bits fly off. So I always wear a face shield when I'm doing stuff on it in case anything splits off or flies apart. You can see on this where I'd previously modified it, the width across here was so much shorter than what it should have been. I made these pads out of pieces of plastic to actually get it to sit well between the rails and not wobble around. I guess that's the thing with these cheap tools. They're not the best, but you can modify them and make them do what you want. So I'm going to go back to heating and bashing this thing, and hopefully I get the tube out. Very puffed. Moving. So about 45 minutes of heating it up and hammering it, heating it up and hammering it. It's moved about an inch and an eighth, and there's about 5¼ inches in the tube, so there's a wee way to go yet. Probably have to stop for the night, so I'm going to turn it up on its end and put more penetrating fluid around it. I don't know if that's helping or not, but it can't hurt. It's a couple of days later, and after much hammering and heating, I finally managed to get this tube out. And you can see this top edge was square before I started. That's because of all the hammering. My high tensile steel bar is mushroomed on the end. I actually had to stop and grind it flat at least once. Same with the bottom end. But I just persisted with it, kept heating it up with the hot air gun, and just bashed away at it, and eventually it came out. And you can see it's actually machined down on the end here to make it slightly smaller diameter so it'll actually push into there. So obviously it was a very, very tight fit, which means I'm going to have to get this tube, the end of that, machined down in the same way as this to be able to have any chance of getting it to go back in there. So that'll be a job for the engineer, not me. I don't think I can do that anyway. I also straightened out my part of the press that bent. So this tube had actually bent. It's all still hot. I had to heat this up red hot to slide a tube over the end with a big long tube as a lever, and then I was able to straighten this up. I'll just trim off the end and make that nice and square again, and I guess I have to repaint it, but that should go back together fine. So that's something I need to organize, which could be interesting because we're probably about to move to a new house, which means everything I've got in here, all the stuff, all the crap everywhere, it's all going to have to be packed up and moved to a new shed. But it'll be worth it, I think. So I have to figure out exactly what I can get done on the car in the next month before it's time to move everything. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get the rear axle done in time. It would be good if I could, because then I could actually reassemble the rear axle and have the car on its wheels, which might make it a lot easier to move. Although the state it's in at the moment, it's all loosely bolted together, so I can easily unbolt everything, and maybe it's easier to shift it that way. The little Austin, I have permission from the car club now to have it inspected in Wellington, because technically I'm still a member of a different branch, the other end of the country. And when you get the car inspected, it has to be done by your local branch. So we just got permission for my local branch here to do it for me, so we're doing that at the moment. Once I get a certificate from the Vintage Car Club, it's called a VIC, Vehicle Identity Card, which basically just says it's an authentic reproduction 1930s vehicle. Then I can take it to the testing station and get it revinned, hopefully. So that's something else I'd really like to have done before we move. My poor old MGB, which I don't talk about much, I need to replace the front brake hoses on that as well. So that'll be a bit of working on a modern car. I probably won't bother filming that. It's not very exciting. So still loads to do and lots to think about, and I need to start getting organized and packing things into boxes to make it all easier to move.